You ready?
Yeah.
All right, let's rock. So, bro, take me back. Well, the first question I really wanted to ask you is I was doing research before we started, and I was scrolling through the Insta, and I got to a post. Talk to me about this post, bro. And I quote, this came from your mouth. This is the best team in Columbus history.
Facts.
Bro, I talked to some people already, and I'm just saying that's gonna
Is
explain
it
that to me.
was it the state championship team?
There you go. Yeah, you are correct.
I stand to the fact I stand to that it was the best team, not the best players, not the best individual prospects. Because look, there was teams that had first round draft picks, MLB picks, but in terms of team, like that, we had nobody go to a major
Hmm.
school. We had nobody who got drafted out of high school. None of that. Nobody who's in the top 300. But we were so tight, and we were like all best friends, and we went through the grind of like freshman ball, JV ball, and then like to varsity, and that team was like a brotherhood. I just got goosebumps thinking about it.
Ooh.
And like it like we were just like the team that everybody counted out. Like that year, Gables had like Eli Marrero,
Hmm.
Coco. They had
Yep.
Cabezas. They had that team was stacked. And then like we were in the same division, the same conference, and everybody's like Columbus. You know, we won, and then like they're not going to win the GMAC. We won the GMAC. They're not going to win districts. We beat Gables. Not going to not going to beat Flanagan in the regional finals. Beat Flanagan, and then we play against the number 2 team in the state semi, wax them, and then
Yay!
the state final was Papita.
Oh, that was light work at the end. But bro, so tell
Yeah.
me, and that's a great point, man, because I've talked with obviously a lot of athletes, right? And how important is like that team chemistry more than just talent, right? You've been around a lot of talent, but the
Yeah.
chemistry, how important is that in a team?
I mean, it's everything. It's everything because, like, there's nothing better than for me going on the mound and you have your brothers back there. Like, like this guy is gonna take a ball to the chest for me.
Yep.
Like, there's nothing better than going to the mound like that. Or like my catcher. I know he's gonna block every ball. Danny when he's hitting or Jackie when he's hitting, they're gonna grind a tough at bat. Like, there's nothing better than. And we already knew that. We already went through the hard stuff. We did those double headers in Jupiter when against teams like you, like the
Yeah.
Legends, and we're Columbus Web Ball, and we're losing 14-0, because we weren't like a travel team. We were just
Mhm.
like a high school team that stayed together.
Yeah.
So we already had been through like all the tough parts. So we knew like this part's gonna be easy. So we were ready.
Yeah, it's crazy that you talk about web ball. I know that he used to get a lot of flag for, not letting players play in other places. But then again, Columbus has always had an amazing team. And do you think that's a testament to exactly that, keeping all these guys together, playing year round?
I think it's part of like the method to his madness.
Yeah.
Like it's what makes Columbus these teams so great. Like I feel like it's one of the only schools in Miami like where like these kids are more passionate about their high school than their college. Like you talk to a kid who goes to Columbus, they're like, I went to Columbus, I played baseball there. Like, and you're like, damn, relax, bro, it's high school. But that's because of that. Like that's the atmosphere that they create. Like you guys are together like 300 days out of the year: summer ball, fall ball, spring ball, and then like you hang out after school, and all that stuff. So that's part
Rumor
of.
has it you guys hang out during school too a little bit, right? Like
Yeah, yeah. Always.
No, that's one of the things that we always used to mess with, like Brian Garcia, Laz, and all these guys was like, oh man, and
Yeah,
Andy too, Andy Suarez, like, oh, you guys went to all boys school, like this and that, and they're like, bro, this was the most fun you could imagine going to school all day with just your boys.
exactly. Like imagine like how how it is like when you're in the locker room of a team. Like imagine that, but in class. Like everybody's just messing around, like throwing papers, and then like when it's time to be serious, like you're serious, but like that's what it is. Like everybody's just just
Having a
going.
blast, bro, all day long.
Exactly,
And
exactly.
everybody would listen to them and be like, "Ah, man, that's a good point, bro. That could be
Yeah,
pretty fun." So
yeah, yeah.
obviously, like coming from a baseball family, what drove you to obviously play the game and fall in love with the game at a young age, and what really was it like when you started playing? Did you always enjoy it? Did you want to do it from the beginning?
I mean, baseball's always been like my first love. And to Joe, my cousin
Mm-hmm.
Joe, we're more fortunate than some of the others because we grew up with a famous uncle, and
Mm-hmm.
he was when we're 5 years old and we're looking at the TV, and we're lucky that our uncle is the best player on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
So we always had that to look up to, and we always saw that firsthand. So, you know, as a little kid, you'd be like, we would be watching his games and just be like this wide open, like our eyes like
Yeah.
huge, and we were like, we want to be like Theo.
Mm-hmm.
So like every single day we'd play and just have that in mindset, and then it was great because like in family parties, Thanksgiving, like we'd always have the opportunity to pick his brain, like Theo, what was it like facing Roger Clemens, or Theo, tell me about Derek Jeter,
Yeah.
like and like things like that, and then he, as we got older too, would like push us too, like and kind of set the bar,
Mm-hmm.
like he showed us the roadmap of what it's gonna take, and he was hard on us too. Like he'd have tough conversations with us and stuff, and be like, you guys are not doing enough. Like if this is gonna get you to high school, that's not gonna be the what gets you to where I'm at. So like he was tough, and we love that.
That's awesome. Does that, you think, have something to do with, too? Obviously, he grew up in Miami as well. Like, there's something. I'm gonna start talking to other people as well. It just happens to be I'm from Miami too, so I've talked with so many baseball players and people that grew up in Miami. Do you think it just like, is it in our blood? Because I mean, my dad didn't play in the big leagues, but he also tried me like that too. And there's something about the Hispanic culture down there. Do you think it has something to do with that as well?
I fully agree because us
Yeah.
growing up in Miami, even your little league games, man, those games were like Game 7 of the World Series. We had parents out there fighting. We had these kids ready to brawl in the middle of the pitcher's mound. Like, so from a young age, we've been playing like high intensity games. So that's that's why Miami kids are different, and some people end up burning out too early just because of it. Like these games, like at some point for some people, like they're not fun anymore. And but the ones who are able to outlast that, like you can see why some of the best players in the major leagues all come from Miami, and we come out with some of the best prospects year in and year out.
Yeah. Did you ever feel that when you were a kid? Like, damn, bro, this is a lot, man.
No, because like we did a tribute to my both of my uncles, my uncle Joe,
Mm-hmm.
my uncle Alex, and my dad as well. Like they always kept it like extremely serious, but like fun as well too. So like it was just something we always loved, and we always had a passion for. So like it never felt like we had to do it. Like we always knew like if we didn't want to, no pressure. But like it was just something in our heart that we wanted to do.
Yeah. No, you see it because there's a burning passion inside of you guys and Joe too. I mean, you guys genuinely just love the game. Like, pure and simple. Like, you guys really do love
Yeah.
what you do. And but all right, so take me through your time at Columbus when you're going through like the recruiting process and stuff like that. Like, how was that for you? And I mean, obviously you went to somewhere as far, you try to find the furthest place possible to go to school.
Yeah.
But walk me through that process for you.
For me, it was a little more difficult than most, because obviously my name, my family,
Mm-hmm.
I had my uncle who he is, and then Joe was high regarded top prospect in Miami as well. But I was kind of just like kind of like the third string, like I was great, like I was good with my talent that I had, but nothing over the top. I was 80 to like 88.
Mm-hmm.
Just an average Joe, but it just developed late. So my recruiting process, didn't really hear anything to my senior year, and then I had a couple like D2 schools in Miami, like Barry, St. Thomas, those schools, and I honestly thought I was going to go to Barry, but Danny Casals, who was our shortstop at Columbus at the time, he was getting really recruited by Maine, and they gave him a huge offer, and so he got really close with the coaches, and then him and I still are. We're really good friends, best friends. And he would always call the coach and be like, "Hey, like we got this pitcher and I need a roommate. I'm not going alone." Like then he knew him. He's like, he's going to Maine. Like he's like, "I'm not going alone. You better look at this pitcher." Like joking around, and like he would do that like once a week, and I'll be like, "Yo, call the coach, call the coach." And then they saw me pitch 2 or 3 times. I was 80, 85 to 88 at that time, but just got out, just very average. And, I ended up going to Maine as a preferred walk on. And then, my senior years, my freshman fall is when I took the huge jump. And
wow, bro, that's amazing, man. That's amazing. That's one of the coolest things that I think that we have down there as well, man. Like talking about Miami in general, like that passion for each other and like friends and family. Like friends aren't friends, they're family, man. Like they'll stick
yeah,
their head out for each
yeah,
other, That's why people don't like trusting us because it's like, oh, my boy, he's the man, bro. He's the man. Like we
yeah, yeah,
literally
yeah,
fight and pull for our guys all the time,
yeah.
man. Like I think that's such a cool thing. And how much did the people around you, like your friends, like play a part in your success?
They were everything. Just like that story I told you, I wouldn't have played Division 1 if it wasn't for Danny.
Wow.
I wouldn't, Joe, if it wasn't for Joe, I wouldn't have trained as hard because it's like I was lucky. I was born with a workout partner and a training partner every day, and luckily too, he was a hitter and I'm a pitcher. So like I talk pitching, he talk hitting. So it's like, just everybody around me and people who I met in Maine, like my other roommate was Jeremy Pena with the Astros. Like, I was just lucky that I was always surrounded with just a great group of people and a great environment, and just, lucky, blessed.
Yeah, man, that's amazing. How many? Well, getting to Maine, bro. Getting to Maine. You talk about like your freshman year. Was there a huge like culture shock when you got up there?
Huge. We're Miami boys. I don't think we've ever seen a day under 75 degrees. My first fall ball practice was like 60, and we're all like practicing in like a hoodie almost. And I'm like, okay, first of all, I've never thrown a bullpen in a hoodie, so this is new to me. So,
oh man,
it's a huge culture shock, but we were used to it. After I would say after the first 6 months, we got used to it, and it wasn't too bad.
man, that's terrible. Honestly, I can't stand the cold, man. I remember going to play up in different places during the year, and I'm like, dude, why can't we just play at home, man? Like, I'm sure they want to come down here and play too. Like,
Yeah.
why go up there, bro? It's freezing. How was it throwing in the
Mm-hmm.
cold all the time?
It just made you appreciate when we would go down to Miami and get our ass beat that much more. Like, you're like, yo, let me get the fucking
Yeah, bro,
You're like,
whatever.
let's throw this bullpen. All right, 25 pitch bullpen. All right, let's go quick. We're going quick. Speed 10.
Oh man.
But no, a lot of that stuff was done indoors. But once you get that routine and you learn how to do it, it becomes easy, and it just takes getting used to.
Dude, I try all the time, like doing ice baths and like cold plunges and stuff like that. And I do it on purpose because I know it's good for you, but I don't like it, bro.
I can't do it either, bro.
No,
I can't do it.
How was it getting used to? Did you work out a lot in high school compared to like when you got into college, or was that something that you had to get used to as well?
I did, yeah. We always worked out with my uncle's trainers, but so I knew how to like my form, my thing, but I've never been like a part of a real regimen, So like I knew how to do all the lifts and stuff, but it was always like very inconsistent, 2 days a week or once a week, fit it around your schedule.
Yeah.
But that's why I made the huge jump in Maine, because like, once you get to college, it's every day, 6 a.m. We got lift for an hour, and you go to class, you got practice. So like I was on a 5-day week, a 5-day program, with throwing every single day and doing all this. And that's when because of that, my body got into a lot better shape, and I started throwing a lot harder.
How talk to me about that change in your arm, bro. Talk to me about it.
So before I even stepped foot in Maine, my hardest I ever threw was 88.
Mm-hmm.
And then the first like spring practice, the first fall practice, it was like 2 weeks into practicing, and then you play your first game. I hit 90 for the first time. I'm like, oh shoot,
damn, I'm feeling good.
I might be a little juiced. I'm like, okay, that's a milestone. Boom, got 90. And then what is it, like 2 months later, first game of the season, we open up against Clemson. I'm there Saturday night. What is it, like 6,000 people there? You know how Clemson is. You play all the time. Those guys are on top of you.
Right there, bro.
First pitch, I'll kid you not, 93. First time I ever at the backstop. 93 to the backstop. I was like, I look back to the scoreboard. I'm like, oh, yeah, I did that. And so then So that whole year though, like my whole freshman year, I was like 90 to 93, and then the playoffs that year, like I guess again I got another like I got amped up again and got another boost, and I was 95. I was like,
Woo!
I'm like, God damn! And that's when the first time I'm like, yo, I got a chance to like maybe play professionally one day
Yeah.
if I figure this out.
Was it
But
was it anything in your mechanics, or you think it was just getting stronger?
I think it was just the repetition, doing it every day, every day. Mechanics, yeah, everything goes into that. The mechanics, the repetition, throwing every day, like the higher competition, and having that chip on your shoulder too, like so it's always that want to be better.
Yeah, and you always had that too. I know you talk about being, you know, like the third or whatever. You know, you're obviously your cousin and your uncle, but I mean, having that drive in front of you, I'm sure had gave you something to chase. Like gave you something to
No doubt,
chase, right?
no doubt. Like my whole life, it was always like I got to Columbus, and it's like, will Nick make the varsity? Check. Like it was always like wanting to prove it, and I love that. Like I
Yeah.
love like having something to like check off. So it was like, will Nick make varsity? Got it. Will Nick will Nick go to college? Check. Will he play Division One? Check. Will he go to the Cape? Check. Will he get drafted? And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
boom. So it was always like it was always having like that last like thing to check, and like I love that. It was always the best.
That's awesome, bro. So talk to the one of the things I do, I love to talk to athletes about is getting to school, bro. College, like actual school class. Like how was that for you? Obviously you weren't in Columbus anymore, having I mean, I'm sure you
Yeah.
had fun, but not as much fun
Yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
class. So how was that, and how was getting used to that kind of regimen as well?
Uh, it was difficult because I was an average student. My freshman year, my first semester, you take all those easy classes like the intro classes.
Mhm.
So I had like a 4.0. I'm like, yo, this is easy,
Hey.
bro. I'm like, this is papita. And then by the time the spring comes, obviously you're gonna be traveling a lot, and the classes are starting to get harder and stuff. So I'm like, that's when I had like my first like wake up call, like academic wise, and it was difficult. You definitely have to find a way to, you know, really put in the time between classes, training, uh, travel, all that stuff. So it was something I definitely had to get used to. But the second you put in the time and the effort, and you know you make it a priority, it's easy. You just got to put in the time.
Yeah, that's one of the things I love to talk to kids about, especially, man. It's people think things aren't possible, but really all it takes is time. And like
No
all
doubt.
it really takes is a little bit of time to kind of put that extra work in, and it can happen. I mean, I get frustrated too, even now, you know. But
Yeah.
what was kind of one of the biggest roadblocks you think that you had to hit when getting into college? Like what was one of the biggest times that you said, "Oh man, like I'm really facing adversity."
Mm. I think it was like that was the first time I had ever left home. Like you said, Miami to Maine is a big jump, and like I think it was like our first couple months there, and you're a little homesick, you're cold, you just got like you don't have that person to like almost like give you like some love like that you need like you don't have your mom, you don't have your uncles, your cousins, and so that was like the first time and I remember I really got homesick, and those like being so far, there was like those weekend breaks that like everybody goes home. That wasn't a thing for us, like so it kind of sucked seeing your teammates go to their homes and drive a couple hours away like to Boston or to somewhere in Maine, and they're with their families, and for Thanksgiving we had to like kind of spend it where we ever could, or try to be like, yo Willie, you mind if I go to your house, like because I can't go back to Miami. So like that was like the real thing, and learning how to deal through that, like and finding out like how to get that fix that you needed, like that family fix. And
Yeah.
after a little bit, we got used to it, but that was definitely tough.
Yeah, that's one of the hardest things. Like, thank God I didn't have to do that at that time. But like, going away from home at that age, man, is definitely not something that you take for granted, man. Like, it's hard. It's a hard step
Yeah.
to take. What do you think helped you get over that the most? Like, get over that hump. Like, who helped you, or what? did you actually lean on at that time to really get over that?
I mean, you just lean on your friends who you got there. Luckily, I had my first year. I had Danny, who was there, a Miami boy, so we were there together. And then every year, we kind of built that Miami main pipeline. So my second year, we had two other kids from Miami. The third year, we had another two. So it was like we kind of had like a group now. Now we had like a group, so it made it easier. And we moved to like an apartment, and we'd have we cook and stuff. We do rice and beans and like a nice steak or like a picadillo. So like we kind of had like our Hispanic night.
There you
So
go.
we kind of built our routine, and it started feeling a little more like home. Listening to Spanish music, doing that thing, and that definitely helped a lot.
Oh, that's awesome, man. You see, that's the vibe that you need to kind of get over those tough times, man. Because there's
Yeah,
nothing like being with the people that you grew up with, right? We grow up with a different mentality maybe than other people do because we grow up and never think about, oh, we need to leave home. Like we love it down there, right?
of
Like
course.
there's no other people, grow up thinking about, man, I can't wait to get out of here. So when they go to college, they're excited. They might be homesick for like 20 minutes, but they
Yeah,
really don't care. But anywhere we go, it's always like, man, I can't wait to go back home.
exactly.
Yeah, like I'm living now in Tampa and I'm homesick. I've been here for 3 years and I go back every weekend because I'm like I need to go home.
Yeah,
Nobody ever
and
really calls anything other than Miami home if you're from there. So it's
and then
go ahead.
our culture too, like our Hispanic culture, we're just like so family oriented that it's like, that I wouldn't say other cultures aren't, but like, I would say we are the most. Like, so like, calling your mom, hanging out with her, or like, just her cooking, or, your dad,
Yep.
your uncles, like just being in with that, with your people. Like that's so important and like necessary to like our culture.
Absolutely, absolutely, man. So talk to me about now we're getting into college and you're obviously now starting to let it rip a little bit, bro, and the arm's feeling good. Talk to me about the draft. Talk to me about your hopes about playing pro ball and how that all came about.
Yeah. So I think, so I spoke a little about my freshman year.
Mm-hmm.
So I think once that conference tournament hit, and I got that new, I hit that new velo. That's when like I started really like my name started really getting out there, at least in the Northeast.
Mm-hmm.
And I played that summer in Bellingham, Washington, which is one of the best leagues in summer ball, which is where all the kids from the West Coast go who don't go to the Cape. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like USC, UCLA, and I did great there. I was ready to rock. My sophomore year, I came in. I was I think I was the Sunday guy. Had a pretty good year. Went to the Cape. Threw a couple. I was there for like 3 weeks. Did well, and then so like I'm ready for my junior year. I'm already like projected like one of the best pitchers in the conference. Like I'm feeling good. Like I'm in the top. And then that year, just was not anything that I was expecting. I mean, first game of the season, I have like, we're playing against Texas Tech. Texas Tech is the number 3 team in the nation at the time. Prospects everywhere. And, you can imagine all 30 teams there. Everybody's, you know how it is.
Yep.
They call you the week before. They call you the week before, like, oh, hey, I'm the Astros. We're going to be there. Hopefully, we're going to set up some meetings. So I run through the ringer. And worst game of my life. I didn't even make it out of the first inning. 9 runs, 4 home runs. I mean, I laugh about it now, but I wasn't laughing at the time. And then, just like a whole lot of that, that whole year, I kind of let the pressure get to me, a little distracted as well. Um, but that year was a lot of ups, a lot of highs. Like I had some really great moments, but I also had some really low moments. And then didn't end up getting drafted. So that was like a wake up call to me. That was like part of the, like I'm like, yo, I need to figure this out. Like, so I had a girlfriend at the time, and I kind of like ended that. Like I was like, because baseball was my biggest and was my biggest passion. So I kind of ended that, and like I was like, this is my last shot, my senior year. I got to stay focused, and that was the greatest thing I did. And my senior year I had a great year. Ended up getting drafted, and
That's awesome, man. What
good.
do you I love to ask this question because it's a hard question to ask, but I sometimes have to ask myself, like, do you regret anything, like, about those low times? You regret maybe it was your mindset, your work ethic. Was there anything that you would change if you were to go back to that time?
Mm, anything I would change? I mean, there's a lot of things that you regret. You know, like I was lucky that I had two roommates. One who's in the major leagues now, who's
Hmm.
a stud, and Danny, who had a fantastic, one of the best college careers, one of the best hitters I've seen, and played professionally as well. And they're the two hardest workers I know. And like my freshman year, sophomore year, I'd always train with them, and like we'd always do that. And then, like I said, my junior year, I was just a little bit more distracted. Thought it was gonna happen. Like I thought I was gonna get drafted for sure. So like, I regret, kind of taking it a little more easier, or thinking I was better than I was. And not joining them in some of these like extra lifts and extra things that we used to do all the time. And those are some things that you probably regret.
You know what, bro? It takes a man to admit those things, brother. Like
Yeah.
it takes a real man to kind of look back and say, you know what, man, this I could have done this and I didn't, but that's what you learn from, right? Like that's what life's about, man. And like, have you used those lessons that you learned there to continue in your life? Like, have you learned from them?
No doubt. I mean, like now, you don't want to leave anything to chance. Like that was the wake up call that I needed in life, and from that point on, like if I go down, I want to go down because I gave it my all. And to this day, like from that point on, I've never felt I feel like that to the max. Like my baseball career is over. I'm happy with it. I know that I gave it my all. I did everything I could. I exhausted every avenue and ability that I have. So that was a turning point in my life in general, not just my baseball life.
Wow, bro, I'm proud of you, man. That's amazing, dude. That's awesome. Because not many people have that point of view, right? A lot of people use excuses at that time and point the finger everywhere else instead of saying,
Yeah,
you know what? I'm not going to let that happen again. Like, I'm never going to let those things dictate my future. I'm going to dictate my future, right? Like, I'm going to put the work in. And if it doesn't happen, it wasn't because I didn't give it my all. It was because things didn't
yeah,
happen. And that's okay, right? Like, we can live with ourselves then. But you can't live with yourself when you know you didn't give everything you have. Right.
agreed.
That's awesome, bro. All right, so now we get to pro ball, right? So after your senior year, you get to pro ball. Tell me how it was. Tell me that feeling of saying, "Man, finally, brother, I'm gonna start, chasing this dream."
Well, yeah, I mean, well, first of all, God made me sweat for it. I was a 40th round draft pick, man. I'm like, yo, okay, I think I'm gonna get drafted. I hope so. And I see that I'm still watching the ticker go. Day one, I'm like, I know for sure I'm not going day one. Day two, I'm like, okay, there's a chance here. Nothing. Okay, I'm like day three, I gotta go day three. Round 20s, 30s, and I'm like, yo, I'm really not gonna get drafted. I'm like, yo, I put a great year up. And then at 40th round, I got the call from the White Sox. Thankfully, it was one of the greatest moments of my life. And then, so that was another chip added, to my shoulder, I guess. And I go in as a 40th rounder, and I'm playing in the AZL. What is my 22, 23 at the time, playing with a bunch of 18-year-olds, and I used it as an opportunity. And I mean, it was the greatest experience of my life. It fulfilled every dream I needed. Like the White Sox were an amazing organization, treated me right, and it was definitely a fun time. I came in as kind of like the oh shit guy,
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
like first inning, the guys at bases loaded. Nick, hey, let's go.
Damn.
my first my first like four outings were all like bases loaded, no outs. Like
Ah, damn.
go
Here
get
you
them.
go, brother. Good luck.
Go get us out of this. And like I for some reason I was like a magician. I got us all
Damn.
out. I'm like, okay. And then like my role started getting a little bit bigger and bigger, and I think I ended up like being a setup guy there, and I ended up having a really good first pro season, and it was really fun, and I love the experience.
That's awesome, man. So how was it? How was it coming to terms though, right? Because baseball did come to an end for you, and
Mhm.
how hard was that for you, and how hard was it having to deal with that reality, or was it hard at all, really?
It was really hard because of the way it happened. If I get the call, Nick, in the middle of the season, Nick, you're just not cutting it. You're not, the numbers aren't there. Like, I'm very happy there. But I put a good first pro season, and was throwing hard. I did everything that was asked of me. Had a great off season. Show up to spring training. Great spring training. Throwing my hardest. I'm in my best shape of my life. And then all of a sudden, COVID hits. And then you know how that goes. They send us all home, and then so I'm training at home now, and then a month later, get a phone call. You know, sorry, we have to do this, but we're cutting half the minor leagues. And then I happen to be one of those guys, so it kind of just sucked that it went down, like, not because of my like skill, like not because of something that I did, but because of a natural disaster, I guess,
Yeah.
something that happened. So that was the hardest part. But, like, again, that was the probably the worst thing that happened to me, but then it ended up being the biggest blessing in my life.
Yeah. So again, I'm sure that was kind of one of the first times that you were like, oh wow, this is business. Like, now I see
Yeah.
what. So talk to me about now how that you turned into one of the biggest blessings, right? Like, walk me through those times and those low times that you were at, but how you were able to pick yourself back up through there.
I mean, it was just like I said, like a lot of family. Like, yeah. So we're in the middle of COVID, the pandemic. What is it called? Quarantine. We're doing
Mm-hmm.
that, and so it's just at first, the first couple of weeks, I was really sad, probably a little depressed. So got out of shape a little too, because like now you're like, damn, I'm not even in training and stuff. So you get out of shape a little bit. So thankfully I had a family to lean on that woke me up and it's like, Nick, you can't be like this forever. Like, let's go, time to go. Figure either keep going or let's go. And that was honestly a blessing that I have people like that are gonna hold me accountable, and you know I'm just very thankful for that.
Yeah. So okay, now you're obviously put in a position where it's time to go to work, right? Like, you're like, all right, it's time to go to work. And walk me through, because I had to deal with this too, bro. I was an intern for quite some time, brother, and I saw that you put in some work as an intern, and I would see
Yeah,
it on Instagram all the time too, brother.
yeah,
Like, it was, they put you through the ringer, to say the least, right? So
facts.
walk me
Agreed.
through that, and walk me through how it was going into one of the biggest corporations in the world, right? Like, one of the biggest companies in the world, and now you're kind of thrown to the fire again, right? And something that you kind of walked me through, school was never something that was all for you per se, and a lot of athletes have that. But when you have to kind of go into the real world, talk to me about being an intern and really learning that world now.
Yeah, so going back to you know why it was the biggest blessing about getting released. So I'll never forget this. I tell this story all the time. 4th of July. Uh, so let me take you back a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Sports is my biggest passion. Always is. Like, anybody who knows me knows that, like, basketball, baseball, football, like, I'm a diehard sports fan, all of it. And when you're not playing sports, what's the next best thing? To be involved in sports. And at the time, my uncle was in the process of trying to buy the Mets.
Mm-hmm.
So 4th of July comes, and I'm like, oh, this is a long shot. Like, COVID's happening. I'm like, Dima Theo, like, what's up? Hey, what are you doing for 4th of July? Like, one of those. And then he's like, oh, I'm in the Hamptons. Come through. Like, I'm like, oh, perfect. That's just me trying to get, like, my foot in the door. And then, you know, I know I'm hanging out with him. It's our first day. And, like, I'm seeing, like, he has, like, all these calls scheduled about, like, the Mets and, like, things like, his plans and things like that, and, trying to buy them. And one day, I never forget, we're doing abs, we're working out together. And I'm like, yo, Theo, like, do you mind if I can sit in? If I could sit in the meetings just to listen, just to learn. And he goes, yeah, for sure. But I got 2 rules. You better be taking notes, and you better not be late. And I'm like, bet. Like, you got it. I'm there. And just from that point on, like I was in every single meeting, taking notes and just listening the whole time. And I would, anytime he said something, I'd write it down. I'd have my little notepad just like this, and I'd have it, and I'd write down like 5 bullet points of questions. And then after the meeting, I'd be like, Theo, what does this mean? What does it mean? Why are you going to use debt? Or like, things like, that I just didn't, I know the word, what it means, but I didn't know how it was being applied. And then, I just ask those questions, and he'd teach me and answer them and help me walk through it. And then he would, like, little by little, I started kind of having more of a role. He kind of put me through the ringer, like in baseball, first you gotta do bucking.
Yeah.
And then you're allowed to hit fungo. And then, maybe you could take some ground balls. So like, I was doing kind of like for lack of a better word, like the bitch work. Like I was getting water, grabbing coffee, logging them into Zooms, doing that stuff.
You were an intern, bro.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But like the way I was viewing it was like, I'll do all that just to be able to listen into these meetings. Like he's on Zoom calls with billionaires and GMs and these things, and I'm like, this is like the world that I love. Like we're talking baseball, like so that was like my reward for doing all that, and then that kind of just stuck and grew a life of its own. And from that July 4th meeting, from that July 4th date to now, I could probably count less than 20 days in my life that we haven't been together and working.
Wow, man. Dude, that's so cool. That's dope, man. That's dope. And you took a chance, right? I'm sure like sending that text was set, like if you look back now, like just sitting back and saying, wow, man, did you ever have like some reservations before sending that text? You're like, should I do this? Should I not? I don't know. Like, did you ever have any of those like doubts? You're like, screw it, do it, bro.
Not really, not the text, because my uncle and I have always had like this really tight bond. So we've always been like, Dime Tío, yo, what's up? Come through, like, so it's always been that. Where I had like the tough was when I asked him like, yo, can I sit into these meetings? Because I know how important they are. And he wasn't letting just anybody be there. Like this is like, classified information. Like this is like important. We're talking big deals here. So that was like, that was like the leap of faith when I asked that, and like, being almost scared of rejection, too. Like, it's like asking a girl out. Like, hey, yo, can I come over?
Yo, can I come over? What's up?
No, okay, my bad.
All right, my bad. I didn't even want to go over, really. It was just,
exactly.
I was just thinking about it. Dude, that's amazing. Yeah, man, because, well, the reason I asked you that, right, is because so many times I remember in my life looking back and saying, I don't know if I should do that. And then going back and saying, like, screw it, I'm going to do it. Like, and then it ends up being some of the best times of my life, man. And I feel like people need to understand that, hey, just jump, bro. Just go for it. Those little times that you're like, should I ask? Should I do this? Just do it. You never know, man. It might be the best thing you ever do, right? And what do you think is one of the best, sitting on those meetings, listening to those billionaires speak, those GMs, those owners, what do you think is one of the biggest lessons that you learned?
Preparation. How prepared these guys are for every meeting, no matter what. Like, can be with you're meeting with the lowest guy possible or the highest. Like, these guys are always know who the person is, what college they went to, what, things that they like about it, just so that they can have talking points, because you never know. Like, if I say Columbus, you'd be like, oh, I had a brother that went to Columbus. And that right there might be the door to, us maybe doing business, or makes you feel a little more comfortable with me, So just like these guys' preparation, it was always just like jaw-dropping.
Wow. When did you start preparing? Did you start preparing for these meetings that you were going to sit on as well? Just even if you weren't contributing at first, were you still preparing for them as well?
Of course. And like, that was like, I kind of like, it was almost a game to me. So like, I'll be like, okay, my uncle's meeting with Willie. So I kind of like, write down like almost like an index card, be like, pass it to him. Oh, he went to UM. And then he would read it and be like, oh, I heard you went to UM. I actually sit on the board of UM, like, and like,
Oh.
so I kind of like find joy into like finding like that commonness, like,
Yep.
so,
That common
I mean,
ground, that's so crazy.
exactly.
So being in sales, I'm in sales now, and I understand that that's such a big thing, right? Like just
Yeah,
finding a little inch of common ground can take you a long
of
way, brother.
course.
Just for a conversation, just opening up, being able to really get to know somebody, and you really only want to do business with people that you know and you trust, right?
Agreed.
Oh
Yeah.
man, that's so cool, brother. So now talk to me about going from an intern to actually now being, in charge of, being an executive basically at the company, right? A right hand, still a right hand to Alex, but really being an executive now. How did that kind of change and what did that entail? I saw when it all kind of went down and that was
Yeah,
super
yeah.
cool to watch.
Well, I mean, so it was a long internship. It was 2.5 years.
No, that's the longest internship
Yeah,
I've
of
ever
all
heard
time.
of. Dude.
I think I'll tell you though, I was the best taken care of intern like of all
Uh-huh.
time.
Yeah, yeah.
On these amazing trips, amazing meetings. I mean, I was getting paid well, and like,
Mm-hmm.
so no complaints. It was just like, it was a little awkward at times. Like, hey, nice to meet you. Uh, like, you do so much work. What do you do? I'm an intern still. So, I mean, I guess the time finally came in, and you saw the video. They
Uh-huh,
surprised
uh-huh.
me, and they brought the whole office in, and I mean, it was just a great moment, like to finally do that, and like be officially a part of the
Yeah.
team. Even though I was, but like you know, it was just a great moment, and I was just so happy. My mom was there. He invited my
Oh,
mom.
that's awesome, bro.
I'm like, yo, what are you guys doing here?
Oh man. All right, now that you're in there and even though you were in there from the beginning, right? Give me a day to day, right? Because let's cut it as clean as can be, brother. People think that because Alex is Alex or AROD Corp is under Alex Rodriguez. Oh, he's famous, he's rich. Yeah, things are easy, bro. But like give me a day to day because we haven't talked, but I can guarantee you it is not easy.
It's definitely not easy. Definitely not easy. I mean, you definitely got to have stamina. Yeah, because there's a lot of days are long. There's a lot of travel. So luckily I'm traveling with a good group of people. I'm traveling with his assistants who are great friends. I'm traveling with him, who's my uncle. Sometimes some other family members join. But I mean, the day to day is like it's different because it depends on the season. So if it's baseball season, it's very media based for me because we do the
Mm-hmm.
Fox and ESPN. So my role there is to kind of prepare him for that. So like Yankees, Mets playing, I kind of write reports on both teams. You know, give them some those like little nuggets that we're talking about. Little
Mm-hmm.
Lindor went to this school. Things
Yeah.
like that. And kind of just getting him ready for that, talking to him, giving him talking points so he can talk while on the broadcast. And then in October, the same thing. Just getting him prepared to, on the sport, on the landscape of the game, because he's so busy, so he doesn't know if somebody's on a new team now and this
Mm-hmm.
is that, and this guy went 2 for 4 yesterday. But so in baseball season is real media based, so I'm working on the TV set and doing all that stuff, going to different ballparks
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. And then in basketball season, which is like our newfound love, man, this is like the greatest. I love basketball, man. Basketball season, it's a lot of going to the games, but our day to day on game day, like if we're in Minnesota, is like we wake up early, we train, then we head to the facility and we're in meetings all day, like talking about what we can do to improve the experience for fans. What can we do to improve the stadium? Team meetings like about like roster and all around. Like so, it's like we're in there. We're in the weeds of building this organization, and our goal is to not just make it the best organization in basketball, but the best organization in all sports. Like we want this to be like Golden State. Like we want to build a world class organization. Golden State, the Dodgers, the Yankees. This is what we want to be.
Yeah, man. That's what the mentality that I think takes it to another level right there, right? Like understanding that your eyes is on being the best, right? Not just being average and being okay and making money. Like it's more than that, right? It's more than that, and it's really about becoming the best, right? And how does that feel when you're kind of in that stadium and being able to see it from a different perspective? You're used to playing a game, right? And now you're watching it from the other side. How does it feel to be able to be interested in these little things like, all right, who's in the stadium? How many people are here? What's changing? What's the dynamic? Like, how does that feel to kind of have all that ability now on the other side of the game?
I mean, it's stressful but fun. It's like you're thinking about all these things. Like I sit in the stadium like, why are we playing this song? Like we should be playing better music. It's happy. Why are we not doing a promotion right now at halftime or like in between timeouts? Like so you start like thinking differently and like almost like what would I want, but what would they want? And then man, let me tell you, these games now. Like I'm watching it right here. Like I have it. You see, I have it right here. We're playing
There you
tonight.
go.
Tonight's a big game, but these games hurt when we lose more than when I was playing, or like if I were to lose a big playoff game, like because you're so invested and like you're so the guys
Hmm.
and you're working every single day to give them the best, and like they hurt and the wins are the best too, and it's like it's a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, man, because you literally go through every single step. Like, where the janitors are being placed to where the GM is, where the owners are, obviously on a daily basis, and what you guys are doing as an ownership group to really drive
Yeah,
the stadium forward. And then, of course, the most important part, the players, right? You guys are so bought in on them as well that it,
yeah.
it means it hits different, right?
No doubt, no doubt.
Like,
Because these guys on a obviously on a professional level, like what they do on the court, but now you have a relationship with them off the court. Like some of them were some of these guys we set up meetings with like to mentor them. Like we kind of ask them what their passions are and like
mhm.
what do you love? Like Willie, what is your passion? Is it real estate? Is it TV? And we kind of help them so that they succeed in doing that, like for life after basketball and for things to do in the off season and or training regimen and diet and things like that. So like you build this relationship with these guys and that you feel like they're like your brothers, and for Alex it's for like his kids. So,
Yeah, man. No, I hear people and players in general. A lot of guys have talked about how Alex has given them game, right? Off the field, not on the field. I'm talking about off the field, right?
yeah.
And that's so important to be able to like pay it forward to other guys so they can learn how to really be successful as well, because you don't see a lot of people doing what he's doing.
Not at all.
Yeah, man. So it's funny because I was thinking about asking you something like that, but like what's your goal and what's your passion? Like where do you see yourself in 4 to 5 years or something like that?
So right now the way that that we bought the team is we're still not the full owners yet. We've bought it like step by step. So
Yeah.
like so we've done 20%, then another, and then so by next year we'll be full. So like we've kind of like not like done many major changes. We've
Mhm.
kind of just like because you still got to respect who the current owner
Of
is.
course.
But in the next 12 months, that transition will happen. So I mean, I would just love to as that transition happens, just take on a bigger and bigger role with the team or with AROD Corp, but through with the team, helping impact change and helping build that franchise to where we want it to be, and eventually an NBA Finals and things like that. Like so, that's my goal, just to keep building this team to where we want it, where we have her in mind.
Oh man, that's awesome, brother. I'm so proud of you, brother. That's
Yeah.
it's a long road that you've taken, but you've been able to now find success in other things other than baseball, right? And if you don't mind me asking, this is one of the last things that I kind of was really thinking about, and I'm really interested in, and I've been doing a little bit on a smaller scale, but real estate, bro. Real estate. I know that you guys are really heavily involved in real estate, and I've had Torrente on here as well, and he talked a little bit about real estate as well. So talk to me about what you've been able to learn about real estate and what you've seen success in during your time with AROD.
Well, that's not my area of expertise, but like I know that people think that the reason he was able to buy Timberwolves was because of his baseball contracts,
Mhm.
but it was because of his real estate portfolio. Like he started as an 18-year-old buying his first duplex, and then little by little, adding to that, and now he's got over. I don't know the exact number, but it's a big number of apartment units and over 10,000 single family homes. And what I've learned is just like, you we have the best team, and you got to trust them, and you can't micromanage. You if you find the best person, like if I am training for baseball, I'm not going to train with the guy who's the little league coach. I want to train with the Michael Jordan of that. So what Alex did was he found the best guy in the world in real estate and hired him to his team and just said, "Oh yeah, go." And little by little, like you just have that trust in that building, and it's been phenomenal for him.
Oof. You see, that's one of the things I think pride doesn't let a lot of people do something like that, right? If you put pride in between you and where you want to be, it's tough, man, because we don't know everything. We don't
Yeah.
know everything, so you have to put yourself next to people that do know things and that can teach you and help you get to where you got to be. Bro, that's so cool because you don't see many people at that level say, "Dude, I didn't know any better, so I put myself around the people that do."
And he knows a lot. Like he's
Of
one of the
course.
smartest. He's one of the smartest guys I know in that field as well. But like he has that, like you only have so much hours in the day. You can't do it all by yourself. So like he built this amazing team, and these guys are just all these guys and girls are all just like beasts. Like they go out and find the best deals, and we have this. We're on our fifth fund now. The first four were wildly successful. We're raising $100 million fund now, Fund 5, and we're gonna go out and buy, almost $500 million worth of apartments now.
Wow, brother,
So
congratulations, man. That's amazing. That's cool. All right, so now talk to me a little bit about the fun stuff, bro. Like you get to go to the craziest places, obviously. You've been to some amazing, amazing places. Tell me what's your favorite place that you've ever been, brother, and why?
I think my favorite place I've ever been is so we work so hard throughout the whole year, and then my uncle rewards us and our family every year in the middle of the summer with a 2 week long boat trip, and we go on this trip in Europe. Like we go everywhere. We go France, Italy, Monaco.
Uh-huh.
This year is going to be Croatia and Greece. Like so, those 2 weeks are probably the best 2 weeks of my life, and they're the coolest places I've ever been to, and like beautiful, like beaches, people you meet, the food you eat. Like that's the best. That's probably the best place in the world. That's my favorite place I've ever been to, and coolest things I've ever experienced.
Yo, so since it's in the summer, that means Joe can't go. That means Joe doesn't go.
Joe hasn't been. He's so salty. He is so salty. He's never been able to go.
I was just thinking that I'm like, damn, bro, poor Joe, bro. Joe's probably in this somewhere grinding it out, bro. It don't matter if he's in the big leagues or not, bro. You're probably looking at Instagram like, damn, bro, I could be in the boat, chilling.
Poor Joe too, because I'd be FaceTiming and I'd be like, "Yo, look where we at."
He's sweaty in BP, bro.
I'm like, "Yo, you see the beach, right?" With a little drink in my hand.
Ah! Oh man, that's hilarious. Yo, I gotta get Joe on here, bro. I gotta get Joe. I gotta chop it up with Joe.
You need
Oh,
him.
dude, that's awesome, bro. Hey, I know it takes a lot of time to be able to put this hour aside, bro. So I appreciate it, man. And I know you're doing a lot of work, but thank you so much, bro. It was a blast, dude. So who else?
Bro,
Who else do I gotta have on, brother? Other than Joe, talk to me. Who do you think I
you
gotta
gotta
get
get
on?
you gotta get Joe. Let me see. Let me think of. You gotta get all your UM guys.
Yeah. We're going for
Yeah.
them all.
Thinking all my Columbus guys last.
What? Yeah, we're going for them
Yensi.
too. Oh, that's
Yeah.
right, bro. Yensi, I
Yensi
gotta
would be
get
great.
Yensi on here.
Yensi would be great.
I'm gonna rank on him the whole time, but yeah, I'll get him on here.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh man, that's awesome, Bobby. Thank you, bro. I really appreciate this. This is a blast, bro. A
You got it,
blast, a
man. Thank
blast,
you
a
for having me
blast.
on.
Hey, and whatever you need, bro, feel free to hit me up.
I will, bro.
Always, Papa. Take care, brother.
All right, man. You too.
Dale.